My name is Colby. I never thought I'd find myself in this situation, wrestling with feelings that society deems forbidden at 32. I was successful in my career as an architect, had a comfortable life in Boston, but something was missing. That something turned out to be my 19-year-old nephew Leo. It all started when my sister Sarah asked me to help Leo with his college applications. He had always been a bright kid, but struggled with direction, being the favorite uncle. Leo agreed. Without hesitation, Leo had a stunning young man. His dark, curl-sand hazel eyes reminded me of his father, my former brother-in-law, but there was a softness to his features that was all Sarah. He had an athlete's build from years of swimming, but carried himself with an almost shy grace. Our first study session was innocent enough. We sat at mid-evening room table going through colleague brochures and essays. I noticed how Hugh would lean close when asking questions, his shoulder brushing against mine, the scent of his shampoo. "Why, it's intoxicating, Uncle Ethan," he said, looking up at me through those impossibly long lashes. "Do you think I'm making the right choice with architecture?" I swallowed hard, trying to focus on being the responsible adult. "Why architecture?" "Because of you," he admits softly. "I've always admired your work, your passion for it. Plus, I get to spend more time with you this way." The way he said it made my heart race. I told myself I was imagining the undertones in his voice, the lingering looks. Our meetings more frequent. Leo would show up unannounced, claiming he needed help with his portfolio. Sometimes we'd work late into night, ordering takeout and talking about everything and nothing. One evening, we sat on my couch reviewing his catches. He fell asleep, his head drooped onto my shoulder, and I froze. I should have woken him, sent him home instead. Is that there listening to, was steady breathing, feeling the warmth of his body against mine when he stirred. Our face were inches apart, his eyes heavy with sleep met mine. Neither of us moved. "Uncle Ethan," he whispered, his breath warm on my face. "I think about you all the time." Leo can't. But even as I said it, I felt myself leaning closer. Why not? His hand found mine, fingers intertwining. "I'm not a kid anymore." The first kiss was gentle, hesitant. When I didn't pull away, Leo grew bolder, pressing closer, his free hand sliding into my hair. Everything in him knew this was wrong, but I couldn't stop, didn't want to stop. That night changed everything between us. We didn't go further than kissing, but a line had been crossed as I watched him leave ICNU. We were heading down a dangerous path. The next few weeks were torture. Leo continued, coming over under the pretense of college prep, but we both knew the reason. Each time our self-control weakened a little more. One rainy Saturday afternoon, Leo arrived, drenched from the storm. I forgot my umbrella. Hesed, shivering slightly. "Let me get you some dry clothes." I retrieved a sweater and sweatpants from my bedroom. When he returned, he was standing by the window, his wet shirt clinging to his muscular frame. "Thanks," he said, taking the clothes sensitive, going to the bathroom. Tachins. He began undressing right there. ICNU. I should look away, but I couldn't. Water droplets traced paths down his chest, and I found myself wanting to follow them with my fingers. "Like what to see?" he teased, catching my stare. Liam's voice was rough with desire. He crossed the room in 2 strides, pressing his damp body against mine. "Stop fighting," he whispered before capturing my lips in a hungry kiss. This time was different from our first kiss. There was no hesitation, no gentleness, just Ronid. My hands roamed over his bare skin, memorizing every curve and plane. He moaned into my mouth, pressing closer. "I want you," he breathed against my neck. "If wanted you for so long, we shouldn't." But my protests were weakening. "Your mother, don't talk about my mother right now." His hand slipped under my shirt, and rational thought became impossible. We made it to my bedroom, leaving a trail of wet clothes behind. Every touch of every kiss felt electric in the back of my mind. I knew we're crossing a line we could never uncross, but the way Leo looked at me with such trust and desire made everything else fade away. Afterward, as we lay tangled in the sheets, reality began to creep back in what had we Donahoe could. I faced Sarah after this. Leo sensed my turmoil. "Don't overthink it," Hesed, tracing patterns on my chest. "This feels right to me. It's complicated." I sighed, pulling him closer despite my words. "Only if we make it complicated." He propped himself up on an elbow, looking at me seriously. "I'm an adult, Ethan ICNU. What I want." The way he said my name without uncle sent shivers down my spine. I made everything feel more real, more dangerous. Our relationship shifted after that day. The pretense of college prep was abandoned. Leo would come over several times a week, and we'd spend hours exploring each other, talking, lowing in those private moments. He could almost Forget the wrongness of it all, but the outside world had a way of intruding one evening. As we were cooking dinner together, my phone rang. It was Sarah. "Hey, is Leo there?" "He's Noton's wearing his phone." I watched. Leo stirring the pasta sauce, wearing nothing but my dress shirt. "Yeah, he's here. We're just working on his portfolio." The lee tasted bitter in my mouth. Sarah's call was a stark reminder of the precarious nature of our relationship like addicts, chasing a high we couldn't stop seeing each other. Leo started spending more time at my apartment than at home. Leave some of his clothes in my drawer, his toothbrush next to mine. The domestic intimacy of it all was thrilling and terrifying. One morning, as we lay in bed, Leo brought up the future. "I got accepted to Boston Architectural College," he said, tracing my jawline with his finger. My heart skipped. "That's wonderful, but are you sure it's not because of me?" He sat up, frustration evident in his features. "Why can't it be both? I love architecture, and I love you. Being close to you is just a bonus." It was the first time either of us had said the word love. The way of it hung in the between us. "I love you too," I admitted, pulling him back down. "But that's what scares me." We were interrupted by Lee. Buzzing, his face fell as he read's message. "Mum wants me home for dinner tonight." Family meeting. The mention of family always brought our bubble of happiness crashing down that evening. As Leo attended his family dinner, I passed me apartment, anxiety gnawing at my gut. Around midnight he showed up at my door, eyes red. "They're getting suspicious," Ayush said, collapsing into my arms. Mom asked, "Why?" "I'm spending so much time. Haresh thinks I might be doing drugs or something." I held him tight, breathing in his familiar scent. "Maybe we should cool things off for a while." His grip on me tightened. "I can't lose this." "I can't lose you," to distract ourselves from the mounting pressure. We threw ourselves into our passion for architecture. I took Leo to teaching him things they don't show in textbooks, watching his eyes light up as he absorbed everything made me heart swell. One weekend, I took him to a remote cabin I designed in the Berkshire way. From prying eyes we could pretend we're just any other couple in love. "This is perfect," Leo said, standing on the deck, overlooking the forest. "Just you and Dam." We spent the weekend making love, cooking and sketching designs together. Leo showed me his ideas for sustainable housing, and I was blown away by his. "You're going to be an amazing architect," I told him proudly, "because I have an amazing teacher." He replied, straddling my lap. The sketches were forgotten as we lost ourselves in each other again, but reality was never far away. On our drive back to Boston, Leo's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Sarah had been trying to reach him all weekend, he told her. I was camping with friends. Hesed, declining another call. She didn't believe me. The guilt was eating at me. Sarah had always been a wonderful sister on here. I was betraying her trust in the worst possible way. But when I looked at Leo, saw the love and devotion in his eyes, I couldn't bring myself to end it. As spring turned to summer, maintaining a secret became increasingly difficult. Leo had graduated high school and was preparing to start college in the fall. Sarah wanted him to live in the dorms, but he was adamant about getting his own apartment. "I found a place," he announced on evening as we lay in bed. "It's just 10 minutes from here." The thought of having him so close without the constant need for excuses was tempting, but I worried we were getting careless. "Are you sure you can afford it?" I asked, running me fingers through his curls. "I've been saving from my lifeguard job," he said. "Andy was hoping you might help with the deposit." I knew I should say no, that giving him money would only deepen our entanglement, but the hope in his eye, it sundered me. The apartment was small but charming, with exposed brick walls and large windows. As we christened every sir of his new home, I could almost pretend we were normal lovers starting a life together. But our bubble of happiness was about to burst one afternoon. Sarah stopped by my office unexpectedly. "We need to talk about Leo," she said, closing my door. My heart nearly stopped. "What about him?" "He's differently secretive. I found receipts for expensive restaurants, hotels." She looked at me pleadingly. "Is he seeing someone?" I forced myself to maintain eye contact. "Hasn't mentioned anyone to me." "That's another thing," she continued. "You two have gotten so close. He tells you everything." Paley's Ethan, if you know something, the guilt was overwhelming. "Sarah, Leo is an adult now. If he is seeing someone, maybe he's just not ready to share it." She left Tunsity's feed, and I immediately texted. Leoto warned him that night. He came over in a panic. "We need to be more careful," he said, pacing my living room. "Maybe we should have stopped going out in public together." He pulled him into my arms. "Maybe we should have stopped altogether." "Don't say that," he whispered fiercely. "I'd rather die than Eve this up." Our kisses that night were desperate, tinged with fear. We both knew we're playing with fire, but the flames were too seductive to resist. As summer progressed, Leo moved into his apartment and started his first semester at back. I helped him set up his new place carefully, make it look like a typical student apartment, not the love nest it really was. But living separately didn't make things easier. If anything, the freedom made us more reckless. We'd meet for lunch near Campus Steel, kisses in hidden corners of the architecture building. Leo would show up at my office after hours, eager to cross on my desk. One evening, as we were leaving a restaurant in Cambridge, we ran into one of Sarah's friends. We played at cool, pretending it was just an uncle and nephew having dinner. But later that night, Leo was unusually quiet. "What's wrong?" I asked, pulling him closer. "I hate hiding," he said softly. "I hate pretending. Don't love you when we're in public. I hate watching you act like I'm just your nephew." His words haunted me. The strain of living a double life was taking its toll on both of us. Leo started becoming more withdrawn at family gatherings, unable to maintain the facade of normality. Found myself making excuses to skip family events altogether. On a particularly tense Sunday dinner at Sarah's, Leo could barely look at me cross the table. His younger sister, Emma, noticed something was off. "Are you or something?" she asked, looking between us. "You used to be so close." Sarah's eyes narrowed at the question bare either of us could respond. Leo abruptly excused himself and left that night. He showed up at my door in tears. "I can't do this anymore," he sobbed. "The lying, the pretending, it's killing me." I held him close, my own tears falling into his hair. "What do you want or do?" "Let's leave," he said, suddenly pulling back to look at me. "We could go somewhere else, start fresh. Nobody would have to know we're related." The idea was tempting, so tempting. "And what about your studies, your family?" "I can transfer to another school. As for family," he swallowed hard, "they'll hate us anyway when they find out." The reality of his words hit me like a physical blow. We're living on borrowed time. Eventually, if truth would come out, and everything would implode. But before we could seriously consider running away together, fate intervened in the cruel way. Possibly Leo's 16-year-old sister had borrowed his laptop to work on a school project. She found his personal journal files, and being a nosy teenager, she read them. Leo had written everything: our first kiss, our weekends together, his feelings for me, even intimate details of our relationship. Emma, horrified and confused, went straight to Sarah. I was at work when I got the call. Sarah's voice was unrecognizable, twisted with rage and disgust. "How could you?" she screamed as my son, your nephew. My world collapsed around me. In a panic, I tried calling Leo, but his phone was off. I raced to his apartment only to find Sarah's car already there. The scene inside was chaos. Sarah was hysterically was crying in a corner, and Leo, my beautiful, brave Leo, stood in the middle of it all, refusing to back down. "I love him," he declared, his voice steady, despotith, tears streaming down his face. "What we have isn't wrong." Sarah's laugh was borderline hystericals. "Your uncle, he took advantage of you. Not a child," Leo shouted. I knew exactly what I was doing. I pursued him. He stood in the doorway, frozen, as my sister turned to me with eyes full of hatred. "Out," she spat. "Get out before I cough." "Police, Mom." "No." Leo tried to reach for him, but Sarah grabbed his arm. My voice broke. "I'm sorry." I spent the next week in a daze holed up in my apartment, ignorancles from everyone except my lawyer. Sarah had indeed threatened legal action, but since Leo was over 18, and there was evidence he had initiated many of our encounters, no charges were filed. Still, my professional reputation was at risk. Word had gotten out at my firm, and while nothing was said directly, the uncomfortable glances and whispered conversions made it clear my position was becoming untenable. Leo tried repeatedly to contact me, but he maintained my distance, believing it was best for both of us. Each of his breaking messages chipped away at me. "Resolve, please don't shut me out." His last text read, "You're all I have now." Sarah had pulled him out of BAC, planning to send him to a college on the West Coast. She'd also gotten a restraining order, making it legally impossible for him to see him. 2 months passed. I resigned from my firm and started making plans to move to Chicago, where an old colleague had offered me a position. The night before my planned was a knock at my door. It was Leo. "You can't be here," I said, even as he stepped aside to let him in. Their restraining order. "I don't care," he said, his voice hoarse. "I'm 18, they can't control me forever." He looked thinner, his usual vibrant energy dimmed, but his eyes, when they met, mine still held the same intensity. "I'm not letting you leave," he declared. "I've already withdrawn from the California school I've got enough savings to survive for a while, and I can find work. Leo, stop, I grabbed his. Need to live your life, get your degree, build your future. You are my future. His voice broke. These past months without you, I've been dying inside. Mom can't even look at me anymore. Emma won't speak to me. I've lost my family already. Police don't make me lose you two. He pulled him into my arms, feeling his body shake with sobs. All my careful reconstruct resolve crumbled. Come with him, I whispered into his hair too. Chicago can start fresh there. He pulled back, hope dawning in his eyes. Really, it won't be easy, I warned. We'll have to be careful, build new lives. I don't care, Hesed pressing his lips to mine, as long as we're together. 2 days later, we were on a plane to Chicago. Leo used his savings to enroll in the Illinois Institute of Technology's architecture. We found an apartment in Annie neighborhood where nobody knew us, where Rue could just be Ethan and Leo. 2 people in love. Years have passed since then. We've built a life together, complete, with friends who know us. Anya's partners, not as uncle and nephew. Leah graduated with honors and now works at a prestigious firm. I started my own practice specializing in sustainable dyeing. Sarah eventually reached out to reconcile, but to let Leo know shouldn't interfere in his life anymore. That wasn't acceptance, but it was a mething. Emma, now in college herself, occasionally sends Leo cautious text messages. Looking back, I know what we did was considered wrong by society's standards. The pain we caused our family will never fully heal, but sitting here in our Chicago apartment watching Leo sketch designs for our dream house, I can't bring myself to regret it. Love doesn't always follow thorals. Sometimes it blazes its own path, destroying everything in its wake. But from those ashes something beautiful. Kangro. Leo looks up from his sketching, catching me watching him. His smile, still as bright as ever, reminds me why I risked everything for this love. What are you thinking about? He asks. Just how far we have come, I reply, pulling him close. He kisses me softly. And how far we still have to go in the end. That's what our story is about. Not the scandal or the secrecy, but the souls who found each other against all odds and had the courage to fight for their love, no matter the cost.